He says, Jonjo, sorry. It's not you, it's me. Look, we're going for a breakup.
Standing starts have to be the worst idea anyone could come up with.
You don't know everything.
I know this. I am disappointed in you.
What now?
Well, Cheltenham has gone now.
Let's not talk.
And you walked in this morning. Oh, me, Paddy Brennan. Everyone was stopping me at Cheltenham. Did you see how many autographs I signed? La-di-da-di-da. And then you tell me you've been out for some sort of posh lunch with Jane McGibbon, the Golden Horn lady. You have to be careful how you say that, don't you? But anyway, she is the Golden Horn lady. So you're going out to posh lunches, but you're still failing to give the dinner to the people that you've promised. I mean, you didn't even have the respect to not just... I wouldn't have even come in about the lunch, but here you are, Paddy Brennan.
And people are bored about it, really are.
Well, no, they're bored about it because you haven't stuck to your word. What did you talk over? Did you just talk about Golden Horn all the time?
No, it was quite interesting, actually. Met Pippa Funnell, very good. Well, I learned about her career.
You know, Janie's one of the most intelligent women you'll ever meet in
Who?
life. Well, actually, I'll rephrase that. One of the most intelligent people
Who is?
you will ever meet in your life. Jane McGibbon.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh,
yeah.
She's got brains oozing out of everything.
Yeah.
For those, we should just say, in case they put this at the start of the show, she's in charge of Dash Grange Stud, who stands Golden Horn, who is now a super stallion on the jumps and should be a super stallion on the flat, but the people aren't quite cottoning on to him yet. Right, shall we kick off with it? Because this is going to be a good show. Looking forward to this. Okay. Hello, everyone. Episode 20 here of Unbridled. We still got our very, very kind and generous sponsors, BoyleSports, with us once again for episode 20. Did you enjoy Cheltenham?
Yeah, it was brilliant.
Well, you got most of it wrong.
So did you.
No, I did not.
Well, you got some of it wrong.
I got Tuesday to Thursday pretty good. Friday was a disaster. But on the basis that most people had a disaster Tuesday to Friday, I'll take Tuesday to Thursday. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, you probably did better than most, but you still, you were bigging up horses in here all year and this and that and Smoke and John Bon and all them. Anyway.
Okay. So I want to get straight into that, and we're not even meant to be starting with this. Just not those specific horses, but just what you have just said angers me like I've never been angered before. You get a few on YouTube saying, "Oh, you said Constitution would win, but it fell." I mean, we're not in a world where when we say we fancy a horse, after every sentence we have to say if it doesn't fall. And the same with John Bon. Like, John Bon made a catastrophic mistake, not for the first time in his career, but I mean, Constitution Hill clearly was right back to his best, travelling like a machine, had jumped brilliantly. You know, he's a brilliant jumper. But all the brilliant jumpers fall. All of them. Desert Orchid fell. Corto Star fell.
Yeah.
All the great horses fall.
To Isterbrack.
Probably. Did he?
No.
Do you know that for a fact?
No.
But how many chases did Isterbrack run?
None.
No. So he had a relatively sort of coveted career. Anyway, yeah, so that annoys me when you say... I mean, Constitution Hill, no one can say whether he's the best or not, can they? Because he fell. You're not...
Yeah.
You're not telling me he's no good because he fell.
I never said he was no good.
Sounded like you were.
Absolutely not. But he's jumping... he seems to be getting braver and braver. And so I had one interesting conversation with someone that made a very, very good point on Constitution Hill. And maybe Matt, when he's coming up like that, he's just wanting to get a bit of air in. The horse is a freak, and he's been getting longer and longer and longer. And unfortunately for him this time, he hit the deck. And luckily, he got up. Nico de Chastel got up. But yeah, I had a few people give me the thumbs up at Cheltenham, and I had a few people blaming me for Constitution Hill falling.
Yeah. Do you know what happened on the 31st of December in 2000?
Go on.
Isterbrack fell
Did he?
in the Grade 2 Festival Hurdle behind Moscow Flyer, Stager Fair, Mantles Prince.
Where was that?
So you can stick your Isterbrack where the sun don't shine. Yes, Isterbrack did fall. And the next time you try and catch me out, do your research. Right. Boom. You've had a good week. Jack Hyde. Now, if he made heavy weather of winning at Southall 2 months ago, he didn't make heavy weather of it this week. This was almost the biggest moment of the week, wasn't it, Jack Hyde? You've got a little money machine here because he wasn't that expensive.
No, he definitely wasn't. But
do you regret putting it in the club? Should have kept it, you idiot.
Yeah. But Jack Hyde, no, he was great, man. He's been, since the minute he turned up, he's had this aura about him. Everywhere he goes, you're like, he stands out in the crowd.
Like a Paddy Brennan. Ooh, 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 ooh,
he's exciting, but Matt, that's what we want, you know. I've been doing, the syndicate's been going extremely well. I think our last 4 runners have won. We have got a very lucky winner at Doncaster last week, but what I want is good horses, Matt. I want to go back to them Cheltenham days, and it ain't going to happen overnight, but that is where I want to be in 5 years' time.
You know, one of the reasons that I have full respect for you, well, almost actually the only reason, I think, is that you've not used this show as a free advert. And I actually said to you before we came on, I said, I'm happy for you to talk about the Paddy Brennan Racing Club every show. You've never really done it. And I have to give you full respect to that. Maybe it would have got really boring if you had. But you've just got a new horse, haven't you? And so if you want to plug it, this is your moment. So what's the new horse?
Yeah, a horse called the King of Magic. He ran at Kempton for Tom Weston. Caught my eye. Then I went to sit on him. I loved him. And Kempton is not a track that lies. You know, you can get a horse as a jockey. I used to ride in certain tracks. Tauntons, for example, I could get horses to run a lot better than they were. Kempton, it doesn't happen. You need the cream. He was very good third. And he's only 4 and he's off to Paul Nicholls today. So if you have any interest, please get in touch.
Okay. How do they do that? Do you want to give your number up?
Yeah, no, my number's on the net.
Really?
Yeah.
That's brave.
I know. But anyway, and we've got emails, and Abby Stock runs it with me. So no, look, it's good fun, Matt. Jack Hyde was probably the first moment I left the races feeling like I'd ridden a winner since I retired. So that's what it's doing for me, and I'm loving it.
Hold on, you said to me every Unbridled show makes you feel like you're riding the Gold Cup winner.
Different feeling.
In what way? What kind of feel do you get when you're in here with me?
Oh, God. But yeah, Matt, winning is. But, you know, as I said, we want to win. I want to win at the top level. You look at Exeter yesterday, you see 2-runner race on Good to Firm. That's not for me. That kind of race, and yes, we got to support, but I want to be at the Saturdays and I want to be at Cheltenham Festival. You were there last week. You seen what it's like.
Yeah. I want to go through, let's just rattle through lots of races from the Cheltenham Festival. There are questions to come up out of them. Kopek Des Bordes won the Michael O'Sullivan. It was emotional. McCarthy, the owner, was fabulous. The family were fabulous. I think Romeo Coolio's won for the future as well over fences. William Money's obviously got a bit of ability. But Kopek Des Bordes, I mean, he could be in the Arkle next year. He could be in the Champion Hurdle next year. He's obviously just a very good horse.
Yeah, Matt, he is. And, you know, if you ever want to look at a race, the best way sometimes to judge it is look at the head-on. He had them strung out like single file the whole way back to turning in early. Just, you know, it was a mightily impressive performance. But, Matt, he's got to improve on a lot of things. His jumping needs to get better. You say about the Arkle next year. He'll have to jump a hell of a lot better for that. But maybe he will respect the fence more. But yeah, you touched on Michael O'Sullivan there. It was a surreal moment, you know, when before the silence, the applause, and yeah, I was lucky enough to bump into Michael's girlfriend at Cheltenham. Beautiful lady, and the way she spoke about him, nothing that we already didn't know. But Michael was really included in Cheltenham, and yeah, we will remember him. And if Cheltenham do lots of things right and maybe the odd thing wrong, but what they did for Michael O'Sullivan, I can only admire them. Yeah,
everyone would agree with that, listening or watching this. If you're watching on YouTube, welcome to the show once again. If you're listening in on Spotify, I hope you are all good. We're going to talk about the Champion Hurdle in a minute, but just to rattle through the rough betting for the Champion Hurdle for 2026 at the moment. The winner will be Constitution Hill. You can bet him at around 7-2 at the moment. The new line at 6 is Lossiemouth at 8. Yeah, of course, you said Lossiemouth would win the Champion Hurdle this year. You were wrong. Kopek Des Bordes is in there at 10, along with Masborough, of all horses, who, of course, fluffed his lines a little bit in the Arkle. So that's just how the Champion Hurdle picture is looking. Then we had that magnificent Arkle, which obviously on a personal level was magnificent. Django Bay, it was a magical moment. I've got to say, halfway I thought Django Bay was going to pull up, but Tony Barney, the owner, he just loved it. If I'm honest, I don't think it's the greatest Arkle of all time. But if Django Bay, who is a 2.5 mile to 3 miler, can win over 2 miles at Cheltenham, then he's got plenty of ability, hasn't he?
Yeah, and Matt, you got to be, not the greatest Arkle or not the greatest Gold Cup. You got to say them words with a touch of how hard it is to win a Cheltenham Festival. Getting there, the soundness, getting the horse to the race, getting everything to go your way. Majborough probably was his to lose when he lost it, and Django Bay was a very good winner under, Nico, you talk about sometimes you ride to win, sometimes you ride not to lose. He rode to win. That was a good ride. He accepted defeat. He accepted it wasn't happening. His aim was to hit that line as hard as he could. Great ride. And that's me complimenting Nico de Chastel.
Yeah, could you do that? Could you look straight down your camera 4, and just tell Nico how good he was in that ride?
Nico, this is just hurting a little, all right? But that was a very, very good ride.
Majborough, you're an ex-jockey.
Yeah.
If you were riding him, would you ride him with confidence that he's a good jumper or not?
Yeah, Matt, he looks a hard ride. I don't know if you've seen the footage of him when he was down the, in the mornings when he was cantering. He got Mark off and he had the bridle. He was lucky not to be galloping around Cheltenham for the next week after that. He looks a handful. But Matt, what didn't help him, I think where that race was lost, was with a circuit to go when the horse in front of him jumped right. And Majborough just seen that gap and took off with Mark. I think that's where it really did cost him. And people said he jumped well down the back. I didn't agree with that. He was coming at the wings. He was using up so much energy. And when he came to the second last and Mark spotted a stride, he had used all them big ones. The tank was becoming empty. I think that was the one horse at Cheltenham that got away. And if he got his jumping together, he could be a champion chase horse.
Martin won the Ultima. We gave a big shout out for Happy Go Lucky in that, who was 4th at 28 to 1. That's like quite a nice price winner if you're backing each way at 28 to 1. So that was good. Lossymouth hacked up in the mares, as everyone would have expected. And then we had that extraordinary champion hurdle. I mean, it's been talked about a lot. There's not a lot you can really say other than the 2 horses that could win it didn't complete. And someone else had to win it, and it was a great story, and the scenes were incredible.
The only thing you can say, though, Matt, is brighter days ahead. The second time she's been to Cheltenham. And...
I mean, how wrong did it's hilarious that you managed to get the one horse who finished, who was hopeless, you said would win.
But I was trying to find something to be...
You didn't?
No, obviously I didn't. But Golden Ace, memory needs to be more intact in the future. Forget that she actually beat Brighter Days Ahead, and what a winner. Jeremy Scott, we've had him on the show, great man, tough season. Matt, that's Cheltenham. It's a special place and it gives results like that. I was delighted for them.
I mean, I was lucky to be in the thick of it in the winners' enclosure, and it was kind of like almost conducting the crowd to a little bit. And those kind of moments as a broadcaster are really special because everyone's getting into it, and those sort of...
No, but Matt, they're special people. They're special people because they're not in it just for a bet or who wins and who loses. That is real, and we love that in racing. Supporting Jeremy Scott, and hopefully he can, not that he needs too much promotion of being a good trainer, but might lead to another horse or two. Paddy Brennan Racing Syndicate.
Okay, just because I've said you could mention no need to go overboard. The Juvenile, Put Your Hands Together, didn't do much for me that race. Hot Fuss was the horse I really liked in that. Radek came 4th, got the each way. And then I tell you who is a progressive handicap, that Hoti Kalur, who won the National Hunt Challenge. Rebecca Kurt's got a good stare on her hand. I don't know how good he can become, but you could see him in the Welsh National, couldn't you, next year or something like that?
Yeah, brilliant horse, Matt. And good ride from Ben Jones. I fell for Sean Bone a little bit here. He, on this occasion, had to ride for Ollie Murphy. He's stable jockey and, waiting for his first Cheltenham winner. Matt, that is the one you want just to get off your back. So, look, brilliant for Ben Jones. Great training performance and, great result.
We'll go through Wednesday, Thursday, Friday in a second. But I tell you what I wanted to do. Let me just see if I can get hold of it. Obviously, it's different when you're trying to get hold of officials. But Martin Greenwood, who spoke to us before Cheltenham, the BHA Handicapper.
Yeah, he was
thought we might try and just get a quick word with him and see if we can get some fat off the bones as far as, let's see if he picks up historically.
Hi, Matt.
Whoa! I was about to say historically, I don't have a great record with BHA members picking up the phone, but there you are. You're on Unbridled, Martin. Please don't swear.
Of course not.
Actually, you can on this show, to be quite frank, but it's probably best not to. Thank you very much. I just thought you were so good before Cheltenham that I just wanted to rattle through a few figures with you, because we're just chatting about it, but you've got the official figures of how much certain horses have improved and how much certain horses didn't, etc. So I thought you'd be the perfect person. Have you got a couple of moments now?
Yeah, absolutely. Far away.
Oh, what? I love the BHA. They are fabulous. I think I might have to change pad, and I think I might start befriending BHA from now on.
Good.
They're not so bad, I've decided. Right. Let's start with perhaps the most devastating performance of the week, and you do the chasers, so you'll have enjoyed it. Factor File in the Ryanair, Martin. How good was he on figures?
Yeah, a clear personal best. 174. Just to let viewers know, when Irish horses run over here for Cheltenham, for instance, we obviously do all the rating to then send them to Ireland, so that's why a lot of their ratings mirror ours, because we decide what happens this side of the water, and the Irish guys that. So the 174 is the official British rating that the Irish may or may not copy. That's down to them, of course. So 174, clear personal best. Great in the John Durkin, sort of slightly flattened out over the 3-mile trip for some unknown reason, because he races like a stayer sometimes, but he was phenomenal in this. Maybe 2.5 miles is his beat trip. So third best performance this season as a chaser, full stop. Looked very impressive, didn't he?
Yeah, so he's 174. So what would Cheltenham Des Bordes have run to in the Gold Cup? How far below form and how close to Factor File's 174?
Yeah, Cheltenham Des Bordes, I run into 169, which is £10 below his absolute peak of 179.
Wow.
Though you could argue this season alone, he'd probably run to mid-170s in that first Leopardstown win. The second one was a bit messy. So he looked as good as ever in the first Leopardstown win, I thought. The second Leopardstown win was very messy, a very silly race, got on top of each other. But he seemed to be put in his place the other day, whether he was just to be below form that day, or whether, time is catching up like he does to all of us. And he's obviously been passed by a very good horse that won the race.
I'm putting it just down to ground, but we'll discuss that later on. But I just feel...
Could be.
Yeah.
Could be.
What it does show us that on BHA figures, if Factor File and Cheltenham Des Bordes met in a 3-mile race, there would be very little between them if they both produced their kind of best form.
Yeah, I would say that was correct based on this season alone. I would have Cheltenham Des Bordes, obviously 179 at his absolute peak, but of course Factor File has also probably got improvements in him as well. I don't think 174 is necessarily the peak of his performance just yet. So it'd be a great race, wouldn't it? And I can't believe Factor File wouldn't be as effective at 3 miles, although at the minute the figures don't show that.
Interesting. Now, we both love the New Lion and Kopek Des Bordes, but on figures, which one of those two is actually the better horse officially?
Yeah, I chatted to as you know, I do the chaser, so I chatted through these horses yesterday with Michael Harris, who was my equivalent over hurdles. And he tells me that the New Lion and Kopek Des Bordes are both 159 after their respective wins.
He's bottled it.
Well, don't forget, these are only these are only figures now. The Anglo-Irish horse hasn't finished till to punch us down, so the end of season ratings won't be decided until then.
Yeah.
Kopek was 157 going in after Leopardstown, so has only improved, inverted commas, a little on that, where the New Lion had won the Newbury race that has a history of not quite working out, but it was better ground this year. Maybe that's part of the reason. The shallow hurdle, obviously. And he was really good last week, I thought, the New Lion, unbeaten, as is the Mullins horse. Obviously different trips, but reading after the event, he sounds like Skelton is probably going to the champion hurdle. I mean, obviously that'll be decided later. Both really exciting prospects. And, of course, 159, again, could well be beneath their final figure as they keep racing, of course.
Yeah. Still a long way off Constitution Hill, though, on 159. But they are young, up-and-coming horses. I know your way of thinking, everyone seems to think, was a good Gold Cup winner, although, as we've just discovered, £10 below Galopin Des Champs' best. So what do you do with I know where you're thinking? How good was that performance?
Yeah, no, Galopin Des Champs was £10 below his peak. I've got I know the way you're thinking 175 after Cheltenham.
Right.
So that's a massive clear best, because I had him 160 at Leopardstown the last run when it was again that messy race, but he was electric the other day, wasn't he? Put the favourite to bed again. Excuses for the second, maybe. You suggested ground, and I'm not necessarily disagreeing, but he still hampered the rest in good style. So he would have been £15 well in on my ratings in the Grand National, which is a phenomenal amount. I think £10 on Crash Ramble has been the highest one I've had in my time.
I mean, how did you get it so wrong, Martin?
Well, yeah, you can only rate. We say there's a lot to trainers and connections, etc., that people think we rate on what we think horses might achieve, or we don't. We actually rate horses on what we think they have achieved. But that, of course, doesn't mean that they are going to get better. When I was at Tyneside, we'd use a small P or a large P symbol to signify improvement lightly, but we haven't got that facility at the BHA. So this horse has just improved, hasn't he? I mean, and last Friday was really good. It didn't surprise me, the outrunning in the National, even though that dangled that massive carrot. I think Mr. McManus has got so many fingers and so many pies with stage chasers, he can afford to move them about, and sort of understandable to a degree.
Mm. Yeah, I thought...
You just take away that was carrot of £15 well in, doesn't it? Because that'll never happen again for the horse.
But I think, Martin, looking at the Grand National decision, we talk about horse race and the horse comes first, and I think the horse really does come first here, and I think it's the right decision. Yes, he's got a stone in hand, but with Aintree being closer to Cheltenham, it didn't surprise me one bit, and I think it was a great call that he didn't run in the Grand National.
Yeah, I agree, Paddy. I sort of back in my mind, and I said to a few, I was at Weatherby yesterday before he was pulled out. I suggested that it wouldn't surprise me at all if they pulled him out, and it sort of, in some ways, I suppose, makes the National more interesting again, because this would have been very short price. Obviously, I'd have wanted it to win well, because it's £15 well in, to prove my figure, the Gold Cup, right? So it makes it more interesting, I think. And we've still got a few horses really well in. I don't know if you want to discuss those.
Yeah. Intense Raffles, Stumptown, Mr. Vango have all done well over the last week, haven't they?
Yeah, obviously, Stumptown won the cross country. He's gone up at number 6, so he's 6 well in. He's just a revitalised horse. I mean, he just looks a different kettle of fish over the cross country. Intense Raffles ran in the Bobby Joe a couple of weeks ago, giving weight away to Nick Rocket, who was obviously an interesting horse himself in the National. So he's 6 well in minimum. I mean, that was a great run, and I can see why he's favourite. And Mr. Vango's an unusual one in that he's probably not going to get in the race on 143, but he's now 152 after that game as a pedal win at Utoxeter. And it's just a shame. Obviously, there's no penalties for the National, otherwise he probably would have got in. So unfortunately for Mr. Vango's connections, he's probably not going to get in, even though he's sort of going to be £9 well in.
Just to confirm, because there'll be people listening wondering, if you win the Cheltenham Gold Cup, you don't get a penalty for the Grand National.
Yeah, there's no the whip. What was the Whitbread and the 365 now, isn't it? And the Gold and the Grand National. There's no penalties. So the weights that we give in Fed when IOC with Liverpool, that is the final weight given there. So no matter what you do after that weight, you're left where you are.
The logic for that, Martin, is what?
I mean, it's not a decision I make. Of course, I just get out a list and handicap them. I think it's just because the Grand National is such a unique race. They want to sort of, keep it a different aspect to it. I mean, everything's discussed every year about, penalties, non-penalties, winning you're in, etc. But, Aintree on the final say on that. I was part of the general committee sometimes. And at this point, that's the way they want to keep it, which is fine. Everybody knows that when they enter. So trainer as the owner of Intense Raffles will be very pleased that he's still on 151 rather than 157,
Right, let's get to Wednesday. The new line. I'll open the floor up.
Well, yeah, no, New Line, I said, I'd seen him in the yard. And Matt, it's not a case of you see him flying up the gallop. He's not like that. You're not going to find him on a piece of work, but it's just reminded me of English Drever, obviously different type of different trips, but very similar build and gorgeous looking horse. No, he was awesome. And he rode him like he was the best horse he'd ever sat on. That's exactly how he rode him. And yeah, when he came to last and he landed with a battle, I was pretty confident he'd come out on top. And yeah, what a future he's got.
Over what trip? What do you think?
I think if I was a guessing man, fighting fifth will be his next run, and then on to the Christmas hurl, champion hurl.
New Line definitely doesn't run again this season, do you think?
No, I don't run.
Put him away.
No.
You know what I would do if I was Skelton?
Go on.
I would just take a look. I'd pop him in the Aintree hurdle.
This year?
Yeah.
No, I'd say that decision is made, Matt. He's done.
No, I think it has been made, but I think it's a big mistake.
I know. But never a big mistake to not run.
Well, who's going to be in the Aintree hurdle?
Good question. I haven't even thought about that.
No.
No.
Okay. Well, I'll tell you what I think.
Go on.
Okay, from Nicky Henderson.
Constitution Hill?
Lucky Place.
Lucky Place.
Lucky Place will be in there, without doubt. Didn't stay in the stairs.
Okay.
But Lucky Place, for all that we love him, he's not going to get you dancing up and down the street naked, isn't it?
Langlerdan might be in there, is he?
Well, no one's going to care about that.
Well, he just got beaten it last year, didn't he? On a three-way photo, but go on.
Yeah. I think Constitution Hill will be in the...
Yeah, that I wouldn't rule that out.
Because...
And that would help him, surely.
It could be a gimme, but also Lossiemouth. I mean, if you were going to run Lossiemouth, you'd go 2.5 at Aintree rather than 2 miles at Punchestown, wouldn't you?
Suddenly that race is hotting up, Matt, when you said you didn't know what was going for. There's plenty of horses there looking at that entry, I'd say.
Should we ring Buckers?
I know, I'd give that a miss. I'd ring Nicky today.
Really?
Yeah, I would, yeah. I think I've pissed him off enough. Go on.
No, I think I'll ring him. Just because you said that. Because, just to see what he says about the Aintree. I'll pretend you're not here. How about that?
Yeah.
He probably won't answer this time.
No, I'd say not.
We've got... He usually goes away somewhere exotic.
Does he? Yeah, I'd say...
Look at that, nothing.
No.
Zilch.
Unbridled, don't answer.
This is Michael. Leave me a message and I'll call you back.
Not good, that, mate.
No. Buckers, it's Chappers. I'm doing the show on my own. Because shh, he can hear you. Shush. I'm doing the show on my own because I've had enough of the other bloke. Just wanted to check whether you were considering the Aintree hurdle at all for Constitution. Just because it could be very winnable. Anyway, if you happen to get this message, please call back. If not, enjoy the beach that you're probably lying on. Have a good day, Buckers. Right.
You do, Matt. Actually, if I was to give you credit for something, I have an obsession with the entry book. I love it. I love finding races. I just love it. I love it. But you called out Django Bay, Caldwell Potter, and now maybe you do actually. And Mashbury, you said you were against. For a lad with not many brains, you're doing all right.
Things happen on this show that obviously not always the listeners or viewers know about. In my ear just then, the whole of the production crew cheered.
Oh, I'd say they were laughing.
They cheered.
Yeah.
That's what I'm up against.
As far as the M4, I'd say.
Flapper Tom. Absolutely love that. Nicky Wenson won the Brown Advisory. He's a nice stay in the making. Still a story. They're stayers in the making. I think they're more national horses rather than Gold Cup horses. Jimmy Dessau, I thought Danny Mullins was superb on him. Had Ballyadam in that each way. He was a good runner. Be Aware didn't quite get home. Be Aware's frustrating. I don't know what trip he wants. He travelled like a
Maybe a
trapeze.
chaser, Matt. Maybe over fences.
Maybe he could be next Sunny Bay. We better mention the champion chase, Marine Nationale.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's the honest truth. Do you think Marine Nationale is a really good champion chaser or not?
Very tricky question to answer that.
Well, that's what this show's about.
Are we going to go back to John Bunn, or are we going to mention him?
I don't think there's much to say, is there?
Well, there is.
Okay.
The last time John Bunn ran at Cheltenham, a lad called James Bowen rode him, and he took some flack, Matt. He did. His career was going up quicker than your hair, and he got plenty of stones, and I fell for that lad. The horse goes back to the champion chase. Nico de Chastel back on board. And he jumps, yes, the start wasn't good. I'm not going to lie. A standing start in the champion chase is a waste of time. You have to get more. You have to be walking in for that first fence. And that's where that race, that didn't help. But he made the very same mistake with Nico de Chastel as he made with James Bowen. And I rang that kid on the way home and I said, that wasn't your fault. Now, move on to Marie National.
It's Nikolai Chastel de.
Yeah.
Not Nico de Chastel.
Did you see his interview after the triumph? We'll get to that later. Go on.
Well, I think I did it.
Did you?
Then Jazzy Matty won that. Well, obviously, I was very emotional with the Michael O'Sullivan link, and Bambino Fever landed a gamble in the bumper. But the bumper is always a lottery. You're just guessing. And sometimes you guess right and sometimes you don't, which is why, as we said in the show, it's why Patrick Mullins doesn't win it every year, because no one really knows about the bumper. Air of Entitlement in the Ryan Mare Mares Novices Hurdle. No one really cares about the race, although I do think 6.5 is a very, very good horse. Then Cornwall Potter Jump for fun. That was magical. Doddy the Great was great for the charity. 1-2 in the Pertempt for Nicky. Factophile in the run there we talked about with Martin Greenwood. Bob Ollinger and Tiapu.
Just touching on Dottie the Great there, Matt. Great result that, and all the money goes to charity. You know, that's
great way
special.
To do it. Yeah.
And brilliant for Brian Hughes. You know, I'd say his record in Cheltenham, for me, he gave us a horse as good as a ride I've ever seen in Cheltenham when you had a winner for Mick Shannon. You'll have to bring the name to me, Matt. He won the novice handicap chase back in the day. I think he won it by a head or a neck. It was as good a ride I've ever seen at Cheltenham. And there's a young lad, like many other lads in that way room. All you need's a chance. And if you get the horse, there is so many of them as in a close way that they're as good as each other. They just need the horse.
Mm. And you know that because you rode for 168 years. And you had 6 winners at the Cheltenham Festival. 6.
Yeah, but when I was a jockey, I started off thinking I was crap. I used to think when a horse came flying by me, it was the jockey. But as you learn when you get older, the good horse, Matt, it's not the jockey is a percentage, but that good horse, even you would ride it.
Bob Odinger beat Tiapu and Jaguar. I thought was really impressive. That's a handicap chaser going places. Nice big chunky sort. Looks like it's had plenty of Big Macs along the way. And the Kim Muir went to Daily Present. Johnny Who.
Oh, he loomed, Matt. He loomed.
How much do you think you were about to go and hack up?
Oh, loomed, honestly.
Didn't quite see it out.
I was in a box and everyone had backed Johnny Who. I thought, here we go. Everywhere I thought, this wins everywhere. And just, yeah.
Wouldn't it be great if our special guest on the show today was Jonjo O'Neill Jr.?
Yeah, it'd be brilliant, sure.
Because we could get the lowdown on Johnny Who. Shall I tell you who our special guest on the show today is?
Jonjo O'Neill.
Yeah, it is. Triumph Hurdle. Jonjo O'Neill's double. Ponyross, 100-1, first time ever hurdles. Sees off the magnificent Lulambo, who's going to be a machine. And East India Dock. I mean, of all the jockeys, this was something I wanted to do. Of all the jockeys, the most pissed off after a race that I spoke to was Sam Twiston-Davies. He did not want to talk about East India Dock. And I said to him, like, but you couldn't have done anything else. And he said, oh, beaten leg 3/4. But you know, I always wonder.
When you're waiting all week, Matt, and you haven't got one on the board, and you're going into that triumph, and you think, you're one jockey of I don't know how many winners, and you are convinced that I am going to win that race. No, you are, like, second isn't even coming into your head. This is going to be my festival winner. And then you get beat. You're as sick, honestly.
Well, let's try him. Let's see why he was so annoyed. Could be a bad week for phone calls.
Right. Well, we've 1 out of 2 so far.
Well, if we get 2 out of 3, Meatloaf love. It is. He's answered. Twisty, you're live on Unbridled.
I know. How is everyone? All right?
Yeah, but how are you? You sound as if you might have had a night out recently.
No, God no. Where am I? Huntingdon today. Just getting set to leave.
Okay, we'll be very quick. Of all the people that I spoke to at Cheltenham, I reckon you were the most pissed off. Not just because it was me, although obviously that would be very reasonable.
Somebody says the Sam Twister. You actually send me the link. The Sam Twister Davis hate match.
I mean, there's now obviously no one would criticise you for doing that. But so just tell me, because I said to you, Well, you gave it the perfect ride. You couldn't have done any more. You just looked at me as if you wanted to, take my head off and said, when you get beat a length and 3/4, you always could have done something different. Now you've settled down and watched it back. Is there anything you would have done different?
Could always try something different. Is things when you have one come over the top as 100 to 1, admittedly with good flat form now looking back at it. You just always hope you do something different. But the best way Paddy will explain it better, but when in your head as a jockey, the minute I winged the last and landed running, in my head, I've won. So then when you don't win, it is then 10 times harder to deal with it. Paddy will explain it better, but it's just that feeling when you've gone all about all the thoughts process of everything, like how the race is going to work out, how you want it to go. Then when it doesn't actually then end up being the way, when everything's gone smooth and it's gone well, you don't end up winning. It's then 10 times harder to swallow.
But at that point, reality, I guess, has to set in. You just have to go, well, there were 2 horses faster than my horse. And because I genuinely thought you gave yours an absolute belter. I mean, okay, maybe the gap at the rail you could have closed off for Lulamba, but I really don't think you could, and particularly under the rules in the modern era. Paddy could have done it when he started 50 years ago, but not now. You can't close people off. So I thought you were hard on yourself. He's a nice little horse, though, isn't it? I feel Terrier almost underplays his talent. He's more than a Terrier. He's a talented horse.
Exactly. He's an absolute pleasure to have been associated with throughout the course of the season. He's been incredibly straightforward. He's enjoyed his jumping. A few people have twigged his jumping that day. I actually thought he jumped really well. What he did throughout was incredibly quick and actually quite good in a sense of what he did. So I think whatever we do going forward, he's going to be a lot to look forward to. But it was just a lovely day. But Bill Gredley was able to come on his birthday, and obviously Tim and all the family are on good form and just kind of wanted to get the win for them. But as life is, we're all safe, we're sound, and go and try again another day.
Have we seen enough of Potter's Charm this season, or will he go to Aintree?
A lot of dads are done. So the Gow Road, he's finished. Potter's Charm is finished. East India, obviously, I don't know what's been discussed, but there's Aintree, and reading obviously yesterday how Nicky was saying how well Lulamba's come out of the race, so that will be interesting to see where he ends up. But the same time as obviously with James's horses, likes of Liam Swagger and Burdett, like they've got nice plans on the flat. So whatever they've done this season, I've been very lucky to be associated with. But at the same time, now be able to watch them throughout the summer and maybe go and watch them at some of the bigger meetings, which would be nice.
Yeah, well, they've been lucky to have you as well. And finally, do you think Potters will go chasing next season or hurdling?
And a discussion yet to be had, because as we've seen in England, I think the 3-mile hurdle division is incredibly weak and might well be worth shelving a chase career for a crack at what looks like a division which could actually need a good English horse, and I think that's where he could potentially fill in. But at the same time, he's a lovely young horse, and he will be at his best over fences. But I guess it's just a discussion to be had, is the truth.
Sam, I've just got one question, and yeah, sorry. If I was your shoes, I'm not. Luckily, my call to James Owen would be to run East India Dock at Aintree. I think he's a proper juvenile. You won't have the winner, and I don't think he'd probably beat you again anyway. And I just think, it would be I think he would have come out. He would take that race a lot better than Lulamba. From a jockey's point of view, Lulamba is a big chaser, will take more time to come out of a race. I think if East India Dock went to Aintree, it would be his race to lose.
Do you know what I also think? I think actually you're right in the Aintree, and to be fair, both Punchestown, where I thought the new course at Cheltenham was going to be a massive asset for East India, that he'd been there and done it. Whereas actually, I think the fact at Aintree, they have 3 in the straight, you're doing a hell of a lot more jumping, and I think that will actually suit. Obviously, he's still a very good horse, but I just think, imagine if there's another hurdle in that last half a mile at Cheltenham, it might have actually helped him get home. So, yeah, hopefully he'll end up somewhere anyway.
Best of luck.
Twisty, really appreciate you picking up the phone, particularly because, as everyone knows, you absolutely hate me.
Why, who else has ignored you today? Have you been ignored a few times?
I mean, story of my life, Sam. I'm like you. I just sit at home in a darkened room.
I just want to confirm I do not hate you.
Yes, you do. You right.
Absolutely no chance.
Have a good day.
See you later.
Cheers, Sammy.
Bye.
Starts. What has to change?
I think a lot's have to change, Matt. I just get, if I was to describe the starter situation in one little critical bit, and I know all the starters, I had a great association with them. We had moments where you're going to be the one at the start that suffers, but I feel sometimes the previous race is getting taken out on the next race, okay? Let's say, for example, there's a lot of jockeys, bad start, doesn't work out. I think the starter is coming out to the next race thinking, I'm not going to let that happen again, and I'm going to show a bit of authority here. I think every race at Cheltenham or anywhere should be taken as an individual, and that is the one thing I'd maybe seen at Cheltenham. The jockeys at times weren't playing ball, and it led to many, many awkward starts. So, Matt, there'll be lots of meetings, but if they're going to have a start like they had in the Champion Chase ever again, you're going to have to train John Van out with starting stalls. Because, Matt, no horse can go from a standstill. Jumpers aren't trained like that. You stand, some will go, some will freeze. What were your thoughts on it?
I just think we're trying to be too pure with everything. I think the handicaps, having all these, you have to have raced this many times. I mean, what happens if your horse has been injured and only comes back a month before the festival and then wins a race, but it can't run because it hasn't run enough? I just think the whole sport is trying to be too pure. And you know, horse racing for me isn't a pure sport. I mean, I don't want to say Dick France's skullduggery, all that kind of stuff, because I don't mean it like that. But what I mean is there is a little bit of rough and ready about horse racing. It is a little bit of what does this person know that I might not know?
Yeah.
And we're just trying to make it all so pure, like the starts. Everyone has to be in line. Look, if one jockey is able to outdo another jockey at the start, I don't have any problem with that.
I know. Look, Matt, I always thought the best school teacher was the one that would give you a little bit of give and take. If you're going to be strict and angry all the time at a student, you're going to have things like Cheltenham, give and take, and sometimes, like you say, when they're coming, it mightn't be perfect, but let them go.
Let's let them go.
Yeah.
Anyway. Trying to just get everyone in a straight line. And the standing
they are horses at the end of the day.
Standing starts have to be the worst idea anyone could come up with. I mean, you're dealing with a live animal here that's wound up to the second, and someone's thought, let's stand them all straight in a line. I mean, how could anyone come up with that? Like, you'd have to be thick to come up with it, wouldn't you?
I think when you look at Maureen, though, the Willie Mullins horse, you come all the way over from Ireland, big syndicate, the dream, everything. Matt, the minute that tape goes down, it's over. Whips round, like, come on.
Padded hurdles, are those good for horses or bad for horses?
I'm a big fan.
Are you? Even though they probably don't respect them as much as the old hurdles?
Matt, I've no doubt there'll be less injuries.
Okay.
And less injuries can only be a good thing, and I mean that, yeah.
Okay. Cheltenham Festival, crowds were down. I just wanted to talk about this very briefly. The conversation that never happens. Like, there's a conversation about why things are happening, what we need to do, drinks lower, food lower, hotel prices lower. But the key to all of this is the 4 and 3 days. That's the key. Now, once you've accepted you're going to do 4 days, you should accept lower crowds. And this is the reason why I think this is, which is never discussed. So Royal Ascot, because this is the comparison, there aren't many, I don't think, regular racing fans or indeed race goers who go to 5 days of Royal Ascot. You go for a day out, don't you? 1 day. It's the height of summer. It can rain, but you've got a relatively small chance in the UK that the weather will be nice, so you don't mind booking that day off work, etc. It's a day out. What we're trying to expect people to do is take 4 days off, because there seems to be this feeling that people go for 4 days. 4 days off for a lot of people is a lot of holiday to take off for a start, when you might want to do it when it's sunny, because most people, when they go on holiday, want something different to what they're used to, which is sunshine. That's why most people go on holiday. So if you take 4 days off, you also have the chance of 4 days in rain, which is miserable. I just don't think that many people can take 4 days off work to go to Cheltenham. Like, to have 4 days in the rain. However much you like national hunt racing, if you are a worker, it's a lot of time off. I think with 3 days it was more manageable because you could still work 2 days. But with a 4-day festival, effectively you're taking the week off, aren't you? You're not really going to pop into the office for 1 day. And I just don't think many people can do that. And I think it's one of the outcomes of a 4-day festival. Now, I know it's all about money for Jockey Club racecourses. I know this is so crucial to their business plan that they make money from a 4th day. I get that. But once you've accepted that it's always going to be 4 days now because everyone needs the cash, I think you have to understand that your average person just can't take 4 days off. And they don't want to take 4 days of their holiday off when they could have 4 really miserable days in either cold or rain at that time of year. Why would you do it? Yep. However much you love national hunt racing, why would you do it, Pat?
But Matt, if you can have as many days as you want, but if you ain't getting people through the gate, you ain't going to make any money.
But you would if you had 3 days.
Okay, well that's your point, and there's so many points here. There could be 100, but the one I would take as well is the older generation coming to Cheltenham, Matt. You're not seeing as many of them anymore. It's a younger crowd. I get that, but just a little bit more for the older generation. Somewhere for them to go, not being queuing when it's very busy for a toilet. We could do a lot more for them. And, you know, the price of a drink and stuff down that Guinness Village, like it's Guinness, it's a pint of Guinness. Does it have to be 10 quid? No, it doesn't. Come on.
Concessions are really hard, aren't they? Because obviously there will be a generation of older people who can afford Cheltenham, no problem at all. And there are lots of people who can't. And so the obvious thing you'd say is, well, anyone over the age of 65, give a concession to. But of course, there will be lots of people over 65 at Cheltenham who can pay. So it's a very difficult one to give concessions to.
I'm definitely not saying anything about the paying, Matt, for the older people. They pay the same, but just maybe somewhere for them to go and have a coffee. Yes.
Over 60.
So they're not going to get pushed over. And I don't know when you've seen the gates open in the first place, but there's lads sprinting in. Like, where are they going? It's not a sale on Boxing Day.
Mm. Right, we've got loads of questions, Pat. Loads of questions. We did ask the people what they wanted to discuss, but I just wanted to start with a couple of really nice ones. First one from Vicky Hay. Paddy, I don't know whether you read the comments. This is on YouTube, but I commend you on your career. I remember when you were getting going and you wanted to get on one of mine. This is Vicky Hay, the trainer. I'm so happy that you made it to the big time because you were a grafter.
Oh, thanks very much.
Do you recognise that person?
I do.
Do you?
Absolutely. And the biggest secret was getting to the top was work. No matter how talented you are, if you want the biggest ingredient, I don't ever think I was the most talented jockey, but work day and night. And if you work hard enough, you can get most things in life.
Yeah, I wouldn't disagree with that. We did 2 episodes of Unbridled from your house. People noticed things. The Arga, superb, beautiful, shiny, kept well. The clock, disappointing.
Right, twice a day, that clock, man.
Yeah. Tony Kavanagh says, get a battery into your clock, Paddy. It's 11:20 since yesterday. Why can't you just sort out a clock?
Oh, no, the clock's fine. It just needs a battery, Matt. And you know what? If you were a clock, it'd be handy if I could take a battery out of you. So there you go.
I've given you a big break. It's worth remembering that, isn't it?
Mm. You're sounding like Barney Curley now. Go on.
Will you... I don't think Lucky Barney's not alive to hear that. Would you like to get a new clock by the time we go back next year? If, of course, we're still here next year. We might not be, but if we are.
Well, I tried, man. I reckon I've got 8 clocks up there and none of them look the same. So, no, that is the only one that fits that area. They like to have things right. So we'll get it working by the next time you come. Please, God, if Unbridled's going next year, we'll have that clock working.
Now, we asked for some questions from the people. Terry, as a racing fan, I was a little disappointed with the short price favourites being beat. It's the one week I want to see the best horses win. Although I don't back short price favourites, I still like to see the best win. Well, I suppose the obvious comment to that is just because you're favourite doesn't mean you're the best horse.
Absolutely not, Matt. That's the great thing about betting, isn't it? There's always going to be a favourite, but it definitely doesn't mean the best horse, and it definitely doesn't mean you're going to win.
Jerry says, we're asking who will win the Champion Hurdle in 2026. My question is, who do you think will win the 2034 Champion Hurdle? I replied to this. It will be by Golden Horn, but it hasn't been named yet.
No.
And who wins the Champion Hurdle next year?
I'm a New Line fan. I think he's the one. And Matt, Golden
Still
Horn.
can't have Constitution Hill, can you? Of course he'll win next year. He'll win the year after that if he comes back.
Golden Horn, 2 Cheltenham Festival winners, 10 grand fee. Well, I'd say he's going to be a very busy boy. Lucky him.
Chris says, was over the moon with the King of the North, Brian Hughes, getting on the score sheet. You've already mentioned that, but it was a really good moment, wasn't it?
Yeah, in a season where he's had very few chances, he's won a Charlie Hall, which he'd never ridden in. Very hard to believe he'd never ridden in that race, living up north. He's won the Old Rowan Chase, and he's had a Cheltenham Fest winner. Brian Hughes, if you're listening, get out there and find some good horses, and you'll get a lot more of that big time.
Hughes. Lewis says, want both your thoughts on the going. Should the ground have been as good as it was, given it's a winter sport? Well, they actually had to water it to get it softer. So
I text John Pullen Saturday, Matt, to congratulate him on the job he done at Cheltenham. You've heard very few complaints about him. I thought he did an unbelievable job. Obviously, we had a couple of horses, Springwell Bay and the horse in the Gold Cup, very sadly lost their lives, but he did his very best, and I don't think he could have done a better job.
Having said that, I do want to mention going reports right now. So when Go Dante won the Imperial Cup,
agree.
I dissed it on TV. I got a lot of abuse for that when he went and won.
Yeah.
I dissed him because he's a horse that I've supported a lot, and I've spoke to Ollie Murphy about a lot. And every time I've spoken to Ollie Murphy about that horse, he has said he cannot operate if the ground is not soft or heavy. That's what he needs. The going on the hurdle track for the Imperial Cup was officially in the morning, good to soft, good in places. So I said publicly, this horse cannot win the Imperial Cup. We get after the first race and the jockeys say it's really testing, really taxing ground. Why are you looking at my hair? And, it's closer to soft than anything else. Go Dante goes and wins the Imperial Cup. You Toxter, ground is meant to be close to good. Mr. Van Gogh, therefore, cannot win the Midlands National. Mr. Van Gogh wins the Midlands National. After the race, the jockey says the really testing ground suited him. I mean, what chance have you got as a punter?
Yeah,
when you have to rule horses in and out when they're running on a completely different surface to the one we're being told.
But as a jockey or trainer, you have the experience of that, Matt, and you're going to go there knowing it's going to be softer than they say. From a punting point of view, needs to get a whole lot better.
Yeah, I think it's disgraceful. Absolutely disgraceful. It's almost not, I can't see the point in having a going description until after the first race. Like, you can guess it. Have a look out your window, see how much rain has fallen. Go on that. You've got more chance than the official description.
I know, but Matt, you go to Taunton or Ludlow or a Musselburgh, and when it's saying good to soft, maybe good, it'll be quicker than it's given. But when you go to Sandown, you Toxeter, in 9 out of 10 times, if they're given a good to soft in places, it'll be soft.
Jimmy says, do you feel like he does that Stateman would have won it if all the horses had stayed up? All the horses.
It's something we'll never know, but...
Well, we do.
Why?
Well, everyone knows that Constitution Hill was a certainty.
No, we don't.
Well, of course we do.
Did he win?
No, but if he stood up, he would have won.
Well, the man's asked a question. We said we don't know.
Well, I've said I do know.
You don't know everything.
I know this. Jordan, are you carrying on throughout the flat season? Nope. Jez says, what races would you get rid of at the festival? Any mares, chase or hurdle, gone.
Mare's hurdle anyway.
Ryanair, gone.
No. Like that race.
I want it on the Imperial Commander. It's setting up the Gold Cup. And there were too many handicaps that were the same. The fact that Springwell Bay and Johnny Who, all those horses could have run in so many of the same races.
I've never seen a 16-runner county hurl for as long as I've been riding. How did I not get at him when I was riding 24 runners and you would not see a hurl? 16 runners. Look at you lads riding in that.
Ashley says, where would Paddy aim the following? Brighter days ahead.
Anywhere bar Cheltenham.
I'd run her chasing. I'd go novice chasing with her.
In Ireland.
Lossiemouth?
Come on, Lossie, win me a champion hurl, will you?
Well, better late than never, I suppose. New Lion?
Champion hurl, they can all win it.
Well, according to you, they both are. So you got that wrong. And Kopek Des Bordes?
Kopek, I just look as a chaser, man. He's got to get his jumping together. That hood was worn. I think he'd be better off without it. Fine horse. He's got everything at this stage, and it'll be a long summer dreaming. Do you think he'll run again this season?
Kopek? Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely, 100%.
Okay.
Anti-post pick for next year says the premium puppies. I've got two.
Go on, because let me think.
And I genuinely mean this. And you should bet these horses now. You should bet Galopin Des Champs for the Gold Cup. He's 8-1. Galopin Des Champs will be less than 3-1 on the day. So you're just betting on whether he gets there. Each way bet, you're getting 2-1 if you just placed. It's a ridiculous overreaction. It's as if he's just running the John Durkan again. 2 weeks ago, everyone was saying Galopin Des Champs is the best chaser in Ireland since Arkle. Those were quotes from esteemed individuals. Now he's got beat on ground far too fast for him. He's an 8-1 shot for next year's Gold Cup. He's only 9. It's not like he's ancient. He'll be
10.
just 10. Just 10. He could easily win it.
What was the last 10-year-old to win?
I don't know, but loads of times. He can easily win the Gold Cup at 10. 8-1's ridiculous. And exactly the same with Tiapu. He's 6-1 for the Stairs Hurdle. Again, what was he 1-2 or something for the Stairs Hurdle? He was odds on, wasn't he?
No, he wasn't actually. He was 6-4 strong.
Okay.
Now.
But he's going to win another race next year. And just think what's going to happen there. In fact, Tafara will run in the John Durkan. He'll get beaten that. His price will get pushed out. Doesn't mean he can't go and win later in the season. Like, what's going to happen with these horses and actually, Fatafar might win the John Durkan. Galopin will finish 3rd or 4th. You know what's going to happen. I know your way of thinking will be 6th. Everyone will say, I know your way of thinking we're gone at the game. If you like, I know your way you're thinking, you back him after he's been destroyed in the John Durkan over 2 mile 3 last year, because his price will treble to what it is today for no reason whatsoever. Like, you've got to be sensible. So Tiapu, 6-1, Galopin Des Champs, 8-1. Back them today for those 2 races next year and pray for soft ground, because neither of them got their conditions.
Yeah,
Tell me I'm wrong.
I think Galopin's going to be harder for him from now on.
Why?
Well, how can he be?
Would you be saying that if he'd won?
He didn't win, did he?
Yeah, but he doesn't like good to soft
No,
ground.
I can't. But I know, and that was, that became more of as the week went on, it became more of a concern. So yes, and I listened to that commentary through an earpiece.
We'll play this back if we're here next year.
Yeah.
8-1, Galopin Des Champs for the Gold Cup.
Okay.
Massive overreaction from the bookmakers and the people. Massive.
The one horse, Matt, I think next year, if he didn't go chasing Windigo, I think he was one of the unluckier horses at Cheltenham. He came down the hill, he got absolutely mangled, I thought, and on a stair, you can't have that happen 2 out. I think he could be a horse that could develop into a long walk horse and maybe a World Hurl Stairs Hurl horse next season.
Luke says, should the festival go back to 3 days? We kind of answered that, but the answer, of course, is yes, for the good of the meeting, the good of the races, and the good of the sport. No, for the money grabbers who just have to make 4 days to pay the bills. So there's a yes and a no. Just depends how you look at it. But in a perfect world. Jack says, what were your thoughts on Johnny Hu and the Kim Muir and the ride?
Yeah, look, obviously I really fancied Johnny Hu. Great ride. I did think it was a masterful ride. He had the position of the race the whole way around. If you're watching it, everywhere you're saying this wins. Jumped second last. I thought, how far? Just got in under the last and didn't come up the hill as well as the other one.
And Luke says, do you think William Money won't be a better class chaser than hurdler?
Possibly.
Lulamba, champion hurdle horse?
No, definitely chaser, Matt. He'd be going down the Sergino route and I could see him being a very good chaser.
Okay, well, we're going to wrap up questions there. I just wanted a few videos from the last week, Pad. I've taken a few. You'll enjoy these, I think. Right, let's put up, I think, the best photo that was taken at Cheltenham all week. And this was the photo that I took of Nikolai Chastel de Boinville. It's almost like a caricature, isn't it? Like something you'd find on an old building wall or something. But I did tell him that I might put it up on the show, and he wasn't that happy about it, to be honest. James Bowen was skiing last week. This was James Bowen skiing and still trying to be a jockey on skis.
I'd say he'd have been much happier skiing that horse of Nicky Henderson's down the hill in the Pertemps.
Well, speaking of Nicky Henderson, this is Nicky Henderson and Willie Mullins singing at the Cheltenham Festival.
Trying to sing, you mean?
Yeah, I mean, well, to be honest, I don't think it was too bad, to be quite frank. Also, Pad, I got a picture of you. Towards the end of your career, you had that not off horse that got you in all sorts of trouble. Was this the reason that suddenly You were trying to befriend the chief steward at Cheltenham. What are you doing with the chief steward?
Oh, I spend plenty of time in that steward's room, Matt. Plenty of time.
Who do you think looks happiest of those two people to see each other? Do you think I'm not absolutely convinced he even knows you're stood next to you.
Great.
Good old Parker.
Yeah.
I'm not sure he knows you're even there. Let's just see. Let's just see if he answers. Nicky, have you got 10 seconds?
Yeah.
We're going to be very quick, and we're not going to talk about the normal stuff. Unbridled, you're live on the show. Just quickly, because I interviewed you at Cheltenham, at the end of the Cheltenham. We went through all your runners. Nicky, I missed something, which I don't usually do, but you said something. I listened to it back, and I thought, I've missed something here. During that conversation, is it possible that you hinted John Bon could be trained for the King George next year or this year?
No, I think the only thing Dave B and I did sort of discuss is at some stage he will go 2.5 at Aintree, and next year we might be thinking of trying a little bit further.
So the King George wouldn't be out of the question.
Well, nothing's in, nothing's out. But one day I'd love to see what happens over a trip, but we'll start at 2.5. I mean, for the time being, it'll be Aintree and hopefully back to the celebration chase and Sandown, which he loves.
Yeah, Constitution.
Okay, and the big horse, he's well after Cheltenham, Constitution.
Yeah, no, they've all come out of it well, Matt. To be fair, they have, and so we're just sort of looking to see. And as you rightly mentioned, like he plays, he could easily Constitution. We'll see how he's come out. By the next week, we'll know where they all are. But so far, so good.
Yeah, you were almost about to say something there. You stopped yourself.
Well, I mean, we've got to decide where to go with Constitution here. Although the most likely scenario is Punchestown.
But Aintree not completely ruled out.
Well, I'm never going to rule anything in or out. Otherwise, I confuse everybody, including myself.
Yeah. Well, that is why you are Nicky Henderson.
And a great pop singer.
Great singer as well at Cheltenham. Where, have you got a single coming out soon? You and Willie? Hello. Have you got a single coming out soon, Nicky? You and Willie? Top of the Pops.
Oh, absolutely. We've got to do Strictly Come Dancing first.
Oh, I'd love that. We'll leave you in peace. Thanks, Nicky.
Okay, cheers.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Right, bye.
Yeah, so John Bong, 2.5 at Aintree. I still think if he ran right to the line again, I still think the King George would. Right, Pad. Should we bring on our special guest? We found him. I have to say, people won't know this at home because obviously we don't record sound issues, but it's taken a bit of time to sort him. But I tell you what, when people see him on YouTube, he's giving Gavin Sheehan a good run for his money. We played model or jockey during the Cheltenham Festival.
Did we mention Jonjo or not?
We didn't, but I think he could almost fill both categories today. It makes you almost feel he could be going somewhere special. Right, let's get him on. There he is. Hello, Jonjo.
Hi, Matt. Hi, Paddy. How you doing?
Are you looking forward to this, or are you slightly worried?
It's been one of my lifelong goals to be on this show,
Oh,
what's he say?
He said it was one of his lifelong goals, but he said it really sarcastically. No one said that like that so far. Right, okay, well, I'm pleased I've got one or two things on him now. Right, let's see where we go. Right, I was going to be gentle. Oh, not now. Two-time Cheltenham Festival winning jockey, Jonjo. Let's get the boring stuff out of the way first. Jaguar, jump for fun, just looks a really progressive horse.
Yeah, very. From when he won the first day in Wetherby this season, I really wasn't sure to what extent he was going to progress. But just each run, a banger. Then he ran well when he was wrong at Uttoxeter, and obviously was good at Cheltenham. But I still felt he needed to improve Stone really to win on Thursday, and thankfully he did. And
the Triumph Hurdle, I'm really interested. I know you've talked about it a little bit, but I just wanted to delve a bit deeper because I think because you're Jonjo O'Neill and you ride for JP, etc., people kind of would have the impression, maybe I would even as well, that, a trainer like Willie Mullins, etc., who trains for JP, etc., will will always be looking at someone like yourself. But I kind of felt last week that you wouldn't look at it like that at all. And we all know the story now. You were meant to go to Doncaster. Willie Mullins obviously wanted to book you for the Triumph. And it seems like that was a moment that was very special for you, that Willie Mullins wanted to use you.
Yeah, I was very fortunate, really, just the way it worked out. Obviously, Willie had 11 in the race, and obviously he was going to use up all his Irish jockeys until then. And then there were 2 spares, I suppose, for Cobden and myself. And I've ridden a couple of times for Willie in the past, but nothing in a race like the Triumph. And it's just an offer you can't turn down, is it?
Had you had many rides for Willie?
I'd ridden for him once in the Mayor's Novice Hurdle at Cheltenham during COVID, I think. And then I rode for him once at Aintree. I think I've probably only had 2 rides for him before.
And was there any moment on the way round you were thinking, this is just meant to be a schooling run, really, for him so that he's prepared for next jump season? Was there any moment sort of coming down the hill you thought, I might go and win this and I'm meant to finish 15th?
Yeah, it would. To be honest, I had 5 or 6 different notions going around, going to the first. Obviously, there was a lot of runners and we trapped away down to the first, and I thought, I just hope this can operate. And he jumped the first, literally like an old handicapper, and I said, oh, we're going to be okay. He was a little bit obviously over the next few, but very, very safe. And I just travelled down the back. I wasn't really paying attention to the ones in front. I could see all the leading fancies were up ahead. But just as we kind of got to the top of the hill and we just started going down the hill, I was looking at a couple of other Willie's horses and they were squeezing along, trying to keep their position. And I was still cantering. And I thought, if we jump the second last, they'll probably quicken away from us. But I was delighted, run a really nice race first time. But they just didn't quicken away turning in as much as I thought. And I just felt like I was rolling. Going to the last, I had a sniff, and I think his flat experience made a big difference when he got over the last. He knew how to race, which I think made count for a lot.
I mean, it's in some ways, I don't think almost anyone really looked at this horse. Obviously, if you follow racing, you kind of know it's run on the flat. But of course, when you look back and you see, well, it started favourite for the Cambridgeshire, compared to, let's say, East India Dock, on just raw ability on the flat, if he could jump, there was no obvious reason why he couldn't be right there. And of course, horses do win first time out over hurdles. It's just this is the Triumph Hurdle. And sometimes ability matters more than experience, and sometimes it's the other way round.
Yeah, exactly that. And, I think really, I think it probably makes a massive difference that he was in. Obviously, Lulambert only had 2 runs going into this. My fella knew how to race, and it was just a matter if he could jump, he was in with a chance. I just felt this year was a particularly strong Triumph and a lot of runners, so I thought his work was cut out. But obviously, his ability is got him through, and he can jump as well. So I'd say it was absolutely no fluke, and he's an exciting horse. Looking forward.
Being Jonjo O'Neill's son, Jonjo, how has that been when you're trying to become a rising star of the weighing room? How's it been for you?
I suppose when I started off, obviously it was the only thing everyone was talking about, and I was very keen to try and make it on my own. It's one thing being Dad's son, but also to have the same name as him does put added pressure on. But I never really felt it as pressure. I was privileged and proud to have the same name as him, and I just wanted to try and live up to it.
Paddy, what do you think about this fella here? Sat in these sports seats with this James Bond polo neck and the twinkly Barry Geraghty eyes. He's got everything, hasn't he?
Yeah, Jonjo makes very few mistakes. The Jaguar horse, for example,
Jaguar.
Is that?
It's not a car, is it?
Jaguar. God. John, what people won't know is he's by the same sire as LA Francais, right? Character, up and coming stallion. But I watch your ride at Cheltenham, John, as a great ride, but I didn't think the race was won or lost there. It was the rides you were giving him when he won at Wetherby, that education when you won at Bangor. Like, you were teaching him so much in them races that when it came to Cheltenham and there was all these runners, he had that experience. Now, we can all watch the Cheltenham race and think, yeah, brilliant, Cheltenham winner, unbelievable. But if you want to watch where that race for me was won, was Wetherby and Bangor. What he learnt on them days especially is what made him for Cheltenham.
Thank you. Yeah, that's very kind. He was a slow burner. He was not a good jumper of a hurdle. I wouldn't say he's a natural over a fence either, but he was very, very keen over his hurdles. And yeah, he did just take a little bit of minding, and Josh and Ollie have done a really good job, because I can't imagine he's a straightforward ride at home either. But you just, and Ben Smith that rides him out every day at home as well, because he wouldn't be easy. But he was just like a big raw teenager, to be honest, and he thankfully he's just mentally copped on each run, and yeah, I am surprised myself how much he has progressed. So.
Luckily for you, your dad was absolutely hopeless as a rider in the Grand National, and you are all set to ride one of the big guns, Iroko, in the Grand National. That'd be nice, wouldn't it? Just to walk around. Jack Dawes, hey Dad, yeah, Grand National winning jockey you've got here. I bet you can't wait.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to Aintree now. He's progressed nicely each run. I thought his run at Kelso was very good, because the ground was a bit lively for him, and obviously Grade Dawning on his day is very, he's a proper Grade 1 horse. So for a prep for the National, we're very happy, and he's got a nice weight. It's a really competitive National. I know a couple came out yesterday, but still very strong race. But yeah, I wouldn't want to switch with him.
Confident about his stamina?
Yeah, I mean, obviously you don't know until you go over that trip, but all he said to me is that he stays.
Okay, so we've done all the horsey stuff, Jonjo, but now we get on to the good stuff. So one thing I know, Paddy, is that the jockeys where butter would not melt in their mouths are the ones you have to be most fearful of. They're always I've met a lot of jockeys in my time. Paul Carberry, on the racetrack, doesn't say an awful lot. Off the racetrack, crazy dude. Paul Townend, your friend Townsend, on the racetrack, butter wouldn't melt, doesn't say an awful lot. Off the racetrack, absolutely crazy bloke. Looking at Jonjo here, looking straight deadpan into those greeny blue eyes, what do you reckon we've got on our hands here? Do we think we've got a butter wouldn't melt and he's really like that? Or do you think below the surface there's a crazy dude there?
Well, I think to be a jockey, Matt, there has to be a little bit of craziness in there.
Well, let's ask Jonjo first of all. Jonjo, is what we've got so far on Unbridled from you the real Jonjo O'Neill?
Yeah, I'm as transparent as they come.
Okay. Obviously, we have our mole in the weighing room, so let's start with him and let's see what he's got to say. Judge for yourselves, listening in, whether the Jonjo in front of you might have another side.
Great guy, good rider, very professional, can be a bit messy at his peg. I do have to let him know that sometimes. There's also a caged animal in there, and when it is released, it's a sight to behold.
A caged animal in there, and when it's released, it's a sight to behold, Jonjo. Do you recognise that person at all?
I think Nico's just trying to get me back for nabbing him in the Triumph, to be honest.
One of your colleagues said to me, when Jonjo knows I've sent you a voice note, this is what he will look like. And he's put a picture of you on a motorbike driving off into the distance. Have you any friend who you'd be worried about sending in a voice note at all?
No, I have no idea.
Okay, let's see what this person's got to say. about Jonjo O'Neill. We won't give his name away. Actually, we'll just play it out.
Hi, Matt. Sorry for taking so long to get back to you. I've been trying to think of a sensible and PG story on Jonjo for the past probably 2.5-3 hours. The one I can think of is so it was the end of the racing break 2 years ago in the summer, my 21st. So all the boys came down to Wales, had a good party. We all headed to town, me, Jack Tudor, Jonjo, Lorcan Williams, a load of us. So that was all good fun. Comes to 4 o'clock in the morning, and Jonjo is adamant he's not leaving. Was at 3. He also denied on something else you're going to have to ask him about. And so we sent him Jack Tudor's postcode. We're all staying there. Wake up first thing in the morning about 8:30. Where's Jonjo? None of us can find him. Check the whole house. No sight of Jonjo. So look at my phone. I've had a video of him, which is him in a field. He's really lost. He doesn't know where he is. He's got a couple of % on his phone left, and he's going to go to a hotel on the road. He doesn't have a clue where he is, he says in the video. In the video, he is filming Jack Tudor's house from Jack Tudor's field. So obviously in the morning, we were obviously all in bed, laughing, reading it, watching the video. Is brilliant, and went to pick him up. Turns out he didn't even get a hotel room, and he passed out in the fire when he got there, and they had to escort him out. So yeah, that's a good PG story I got of him. And I don't know if you do mementos for people being on the show, but if he gets one, a pair of unbridled socks would be brilliant, and you can ask him why that would suit him. Cheers, Matt.
I mean, there are so many questions here, Jonjo, but I think only 2. We won't keep you too long. First of all, why would you like a pair of unbridled socks?
I've always wanted, ever since I saw the first show, I saw them and thought, I'd love a pair on them.
Even now, butter would not melt in his mouth. Look, he's been in a field at 4 a.m. looking at Jack Tudor's house, not knowing where he is. And
I just say that story has tripled in lies since I first heard it. So I know for a fact there is a lot of false in that, but it's quite funny.
Just out of interest, why didn't you? Do you want to tell us why you didn't want to come back with the others, or is that probably best not said?
I mean, that's the first part of the lies from where it starts. Basically, that whole story is fiction. But
okay, look, finally, Paddy Brennan. I've not met many jockeys who haven't got stories on Pad. What are your experiences of Paddy?
To be fair, me and Pad get on the absolute best now. Like, we're very, very good friends. But when I was a £7 claimer, I do remember our first and only bust up, and yeah, I can remember it like it was yesterday. I was riding at Ludlow the day before, and I saw him go mad at one of the young claimers. I'm not going to mention him, but he was going mad at him. It was something about him following him in the race or something like that. And I was just thinking, at the time I was £7 claimer, Paddy was Paddy Brennan, and I thought, God, I'm not going to say it to him, but what's his problem? And then come to Bangor the next day, I'm riding a horse with visors, runs away with me, very, very keen. I'm clipping heels, going past the stands, going round out into the first turn. And all I'm trying to do is just go off the horse on the right, just so I'm not clipping heels. Anyway, hear a little bit of screaming and shouting behind me. Didn't think it was anything. I'm just rolling off the bend so I don't clip heels. Anyway, I'm pulling up because the horse has run away with me so long. Then I have to push it all the way. I'm pulling up and I hear behind me, Jonjo! I turn around. Don't you ever let me follow you again. Wow.
Oh, lads, this is painted such a bad picture.
Don't you ever let me follow you again. And I was like, and I just remember from the day before, and I was like, do you know what? This. I'm not having this. So I just said, Paddy, do you know what you can do? You can And then as soon as I said it, I thought, what the hell have I just done? And I go up, then banger, you go back up the hill into thing, and I'm absolutely myself. And Keelan Woods comes up to me as we're getting off the horse. He says, lad, I've been there. I know what you're feeling, but don't ever just go into him and apologise. I said, I know. I was like, anyway, come back in.
Bad lad.
Paddy sits me back. Paddy sits down and he calls me over. So I walk in front of the whole weighing room and they're like, oh, he is getting it. And he says, Jonjo, sorry. It's not you. It's me. That's it. Look, we're going to a breakup. And then I was like, oh no, I'm really, honestly, I don't know what got to me. Just, watch the replay. I'm sorry. I didn't. He said, no, I'm sorry. And then he rang me up on the way home and he rang me up the day after. And we basically, all the way through the career, we basically spoke every day. And we've been the best of friends since.
Yeah, sorry, Judge.
He often does that after this show. Ring me up the next day and say, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have said that.
No, I don't.
But there would have been a lot of other people that wouldn't have done that. And I don't know whether it was because I stood up to him or what the story was, but he was A1 after that. And yeah, he's been a very good friend to me and very good help as well.
Jonjo, you've coped well. You sat there. You took Conor Brace's message well, I thought. I'm still not quite sure that we know the story about the socks, but...
We'll get you a pair.
Yeah.
We will get you a pair.
Well, we know it's nothing to do with the fact that Jonjo saw them earlier in the show because we've not had any unbridled socks on the show. Yeah. So we know that's not true. But what I love is that there's another side to all jockeys, to everyone in life. There's the work side, there's the playful side, and mixing those two together, you end up with a decent person. And certainly with you, Jonjo, I think we have that. So let's hope you go and bang in the National. You can have a nice big poster up at Jackdaws. The Jonjo O'Neill who rode the winner of the Grand National. And
one last, John, how many Cheltenham?
Got to go.
How many Cheltenham Festival winners now?
Three now.
2 more winners, brilliant.
Well, 4 more, and you've beaten Paddy.
Yeah,
and he took 50 years to get 6.
Yeah.
Jonjo, really appreciate. Good luck at Aintree, and thanks for stopping by. And just really appreciate your time.
Thanks, Jonjo. Top man. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me on. Cheers.
There's no show next week.
Oh, Matt. Why is that?
I just need a break from you, to be honest. I'm like Jonjo O'Neill Jr. Like, I just need a break from you. Goodbye.